She ran away, but the real horror started after her sister called me crying. My name is Mark. I am 34 years old, work in cybersecurity, and up until a few months ago, I thought I had a normal, even boring, life. I was married to a beautiful woman named Rachel. We had a cozy little house in Michigan, and our son, Liam, had just turned 1. Life was stable. Too stable, maybe. We had our routines. Every morning, Rachel would take Liam for a walk while I started work from my home office. She always came back by always. Until that Thursday. I remember the exact date, April 11th. I got out of a Zoom call, glanced at the clock, 10:32 a.m. No Rachel, no Liam. I figured maybe she ran into a neighbor or extended the walk. But at 11:15, I called her. No answer. By noon, I was pacing. I texted, called again, checked her location, phone off. That wasn't like her. Rachel was glued to her phone like everyone else. My stomach began to twist. I called the local police station by PM. They told me I had to wait 24 hours. She's probably just with friends, they said. She'll turn up, but I knew she wouldn't. Not like this. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept staring at the baby monitor screen in Liam's empty room, the little crib untouched. By the next day, I was back on the phone with the police, demanding to file a missing persons report. They came, took details, asked questions I didn't know how to answer. No fights recently. No, we were fine. Any reason she'd take off? Absolutely not. She loves Liam. She wouldn't just leave. But the more I tried to explain, the more I realized I didn't actually know what was going on inside her head. There were no clues, no signs, just a dead phone and a missing wife and child. Then something strange happened. At PM that night, her sister, Chloe, called me sobbing uncontrollably. She's gone. Mark, she whispered. I told her to stop, but she wouldn't listen. What? What do you mean? I asked, my voice shaking. You knew? There was silence on the other end. I can't say more. Not yet, Chloe muttered. But you need to look in the attic. That moment shattered my brain. The attic. We never used it. I don't even remember the last time I went up there. With my heart pounding like a war drum, I grabbed a flashlight, pulled down the attic stairs, and climbed up, half expecting to find nothing. What I found instead made me freeze in place. There was a small wooden chest, sealed with duct tape. On top was a Polaroid photo of Rachel and Liam, but not from our home. It was taken in a place I had never seen before. They looked scared. I didn't sleep at all that night. I stared at the photo, my hands trembling. Rachel was holding Liam close to her chest, and both of them were looking at the camera like someone had just shouted at them. Rachel's eyes weren't just scared, they were terrified. Her smile was fake, her body tense. Liam looked confused, maybe even crying. I kept thinking, where was this taken? Who took it? Why is it hidden in my attic? I ripped the duct tape off the wooden chest, heart hammering. Inside were items that didn't make sense. A burner phone, a stack of printed documents, and a journal. Not a normal journal, more like a frantic log. The first page started with, if anything happens to me, don't trust the police. Start here. It was Rachel's handwriting. I sat down in the dust and flipped through the pages. Her first few entries were from 8 months ago. She talked about being followed, about noticing the same black SUV parked near the grocery store. She thought it was just paranoia at first, postpartum anxiety, maybe. But then, Liam's pediatrician asked her if she'd authorized someone else to access his medical records. She hadn't. Rachel wrote that someone was digging into our lives, watching us. She didn't tell me, because, and this killed me to read, she wasn't sure she could trust me. She thought I might be involved somehow. That part gutted me. But the deeper I read, the more I started to question everything I thought I knew. She mentioned Chloe, her sister, several times. That Chloe had connections from a previous relationship. That she'd warned Rachel about a network of people who bought and sold identities' entire new lives. Rachel thought they were trying to use Liam for something. I didn't understand. None of it made sense. Was she losing her mind? Was this the rambling of a paranoid new MOM? Then I saw the document at the bottom of the chest. It was a birth certificate, but not Liam's. It had my name listed as the father, Rachel as the mother, but the child's name was different, and the birth date was wrong. This baby had supposedly been born in 2017, not 2023, and stamped across the top was the word void. Suddenly, I heard a loud knock downstairs. I jumped, nearly falling through the attic floor. I turned off my flashlight and crouched, barely breathing. The knock came again, louder this time. followed by the sound of the door opening. I had locked it. I know I locked it. Footsteps. Heavy, deliberate. Moving through the house. I grabbed the burner phone from the chest and quietly dialed Chloe. She picked up immediately, whispering, "Get out. Now. They found you." "How?" I hissed. "No time. Go through the neighbor's backyard. Don't go back for anything. And whatever you do, don't call the cops." I hung up and crawled to the far end of the attic, where an old vent led to the garage roof. I didn't think I just moved. As I slipped out and dropped onto the roof, I saw a man in all black walk into Liam's empty room. He wasn't a burglar. He was looking for something, and I was starting to think it was me. I crouched on the garage roof, heart pounding so hard I thought it would give me away. Below me, the backyard was dimly lit by the moonlight. I could still hear the intruder moving through my house calm, calculated steps, like he had done this before. I slid down the roof silently, landing on the grass with a grunt. No time to process. I jumped the fence into my neighbor's yard, just like Chloe told me, and ran. I didn't know where to go. My phone, my real one, was still inside. The burner had only one number saved, Chloe's. I ducked behind a shed, pulled it out, and called her again. "Where are you?" she whispered. "Back of the Johnson's yard." "I think he's still inside. You need to disappear," she said, fast and cold. "Do you have your ID? Credit cards?" "No." "Good. That means they can't trace you yet. Go to 489 Highland Road. There's a cabin there. It's safe. I'll meet you in the morning." "A cabin?" "Chloe, what the hell is happening? Who are these people?" "You don't want to know." "Not yet. Just get there. And Mark, don't tell anyone you're alive." The line went dead. I had no choice. I snuck down alleyways, avoiding any street lights. I knew Highland Road. It was a remote stretch near the lake, full of summer cabins, abandoned in winter, quiet, isolated, exactly the kind of place you'd go if you didn't want to be found. It took me 3 hours to walk there. I kept thinking I was being followed. Every parked car, every shadow, every distant sound felt like a threat. When I reached the cabin, I was shaking from exhaustion and fear. It was small, with boarded windows and a rusted mailbox, but the key was taped under the porch light, just like Chloe said. Inside, the cabin smelled like dust and old firewood. There was no electricity, but a lantern had been left on the table, along with a bottle of water, a sandwich, and another photo. This one was worse than the last. Rachel was strapped to a chair, duct tape across her mouth. Liam was in a woman's arms. Not Rachel's. The woman's face was blurred, like someone had smeared it before printing the image. But the most disturbing part was Rachel's eyes. She was looking directly at the camera, and she wasn't scared anymore. She looked resigned, broken, like she had accepted whatever was coming. I vomited right there on the floor. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think. I just sat, rocking, the photo in my shaking hands, until I passed out from sheer exhaustion. When I woke up, the sun was rising. Birds were chirping. For a second, it felt normal. Then I saw the note taped to the door. "We warned you not to look. You're next." The note on the door wasn't written by hand. It was typed, clean font, taped neatly to the wood like some twisted memo. My blood ran cold as I stared at the last line again. "You're next." I tore it down and paced the floor, trying to control my breathing. Was it a bluff, a warning, or a promise? I checked outside. No footprints, no car tracks, just the quiet morning, still and empty. But someone had been close enough to leave a message while I slept, and that meant I was never safe here. Chloe arrived 2 hours later. She was wearing a hoodie, sunglasses, and a backpack slung over one shoulder. When she stepped inside, her face was pale like she hadn't slept in days. She saw the photo still on the table. Her eyes widened. "They sent it already?" "Who are they, Chloe?" I snapped. "What is going on? Is Rachel alive? Where's Liam? What did you get us into?" She hesitated. I could see the war in her eyes, wanting to tell me everything, but terrified of what might happen if she did. "You remember when Rachel's ex disappeared?" she finally said. "Yeah, the rich guy, Arik. The tech startup guy who moved to Dubai. He didn't move. He was taken." "What?" He started asking questions about a company his dad invested in, offshore records, shell accounts. "That company is a front for something else. They don't just launder money, Mark. They launder people." She sat down on the floor, back against the wall. "Rachel helped him," she whispered. "He sent her documents. Proof. She was supposed to get them to a journalist. But before she could, he vanished. And then she got pregnant with Liam." Chloe looked up at me slowly. "I don't think Liam is yours." My heart stopped. The room spun. "No, that's not possible," She never told you because she was trying to protect you. From them. From the people who want what Eric found. I staggered back, shaking my head. What do they want with a baby? Not Liam. Rachel. I collapsed onto the couch, my mind fracturing into 1,000 directions. Everything I believed, my marriage, my child, my life, it all felt like a carefully constructed lie. Then why take Liam? I whispered. Because they know she'll do anything to keep him safe. Chloe opened her backpack and pulled out another journal, thick, leather-bound, with Rachel's handwriting inside. This is her real story, she said. What she couldn't say out loud. As I flipped through the pages, I saw maps, names, bank statements. Rachel had been tracking these people for months. Her last entry said, "If I vanish, tell Mark to look for the garden." The garden? I asked. Chloe nodded. It's not a place. It's a code name for their compound, their base of operations. You're telling me there's an actual place where these people operate out in the open? Not in the open, she said. Underground. Hidden in plain sight. And if we don't find it, you'll never see Rachel or Liam again. I stared at the words Rachel had written. Look for the garden. The pages in the journal were filled with scribbled notes, receipts, named so many names, and then diagrams. Maps of small towns, abandoned buildings, locations circled and crossed out. It felt more like a war plan than a diary. Chloe was pacing behind me while I flipped through, her hands trembling, biting at her nails. Do you know where it is? I asked. She hesitated. I know where it used to be. That's the thing with the garden. It moves. Whenever someone gets too close, it vanishes like smoke. You're telling me a secret human trafficking compound just moves from place to place? No, Chloe sat down. I'm telling you it's protected, funded, covered up. You know how you work in cybersecurity? These people, they work in reality security. They raise trails, fake records, create new lives. I felt sick. So why me? Why now? She met my eyes. Because Rachel ran. And when she did, she took something. I blinked. What? Chloe reached into her backpack again and pulled out a tiny USB stick. It looked normal, innocent. But I knew better. This was what they'd been looking for. Not just Rachel. Not Liam. Not even the documents. I shouldn't have it, she said. But she hid it in Liam's stuffed fox before she left. I found it the night after she disappeared. What's on it? I haven't looked. I don't want to know. But I do know that if they find out we have it. Her voice trailed off. I plugged it into my laptop, the one I had hidden in a false panel in the floor of the cabin. Chloe's eyes widened. You brought a computer? It's clean. No Wi-Fi. No tracking. I built it myself, within seconds. The screen filled with folders. Alpha clients. Relocation logs. Black budget. Experiment Jesus, I muttered. I clicked one relocation logs and saw photos. Dozens. Maybe hundreds. People with their names replaced by codes. Locations. Status updates. Many said integrated. Some said expired. A few said pending extraction. One entry made me freeze. Subject R731 alias. Rachel Moore status. Escaped breach last known coordinates. Flagged termination order issued. I felt my blood turn to ice. They weren't trying to take her. They were trying to erase her. A sudden crack outside made us both jump. A twig. Someone stepped on a twig. We killed the lantern and ducked. Through the cracks in the boarded window, I saw 3 silhouettes moving through the trees. Not flashlights. Not yelling. Just movement. Controlled. Hunting. They found us, I whispered. Chloe grabbed the journal, the USB, and stuffed them into her pack. We have to split up. No, I said. We're safer together. If they catch both of us, no one will know the truth. She shoved the pack into my hands. Take it. Head to Fremont County. There's an old bunker in the woods. It's marked with the word "Doorhouse" on the door. Rachel mentioned it once. Go. Now. I wanted to argue, to scream, but I couldn't waste a second. I kissed her on the forehead the last time I'd ever see her alive, and bolted out the back door into the woods. Behind me, I heard her yell, "Hey, I'm here." A decoy. Then a gunshot. Then silence. I ran through the forest until my lungs burned and my legs nearly gave out. Branches tore at my clothes, my face. But I didn't stop. I couldn't. Not after what I just heard. That gunshot. I wanted to believe Chloe was okay. That maybe it was a warning shot. Or they missed. Or she escaped. But deep down, I knew. She had sacrificed herself to buy me time. When I finally collapsed near a roadside drainage tunnel, it was dawn again. 2 days since Rachel vanished. I hadn't slept. My body was failing. But my mind was on fire. Fremont County. The dollhouse. A bunker in the woods. It sounded like something out of a conspiracy forum. But I had nothing else. Using an old physical map from the glove compartment of a wrecked car I found abandoned by the road, probably some junkie shelter, I marked a few possible forested areas Chloe might have meant. There weren't many with old Cold War era bunkers, and even fewer were marked on public records. I hiked 3 hours before I saw it, a rusted hatch buried beneath leaves and pine needles. The word dollhouse spray painted faintly across the metal. I almost didn't notice it. I yanked it open, my muscles screaming. The metal groaned. A ladder descended into pitch darkness. With no choice, I went down. The air was stale, electric with tension. As my eyes adjusted, I saw flickering lights. Someone had rigged a generator here long ago. The hallway was narrow, concrete, claustrophobic. The walls were lined with peeling children's wallpaper. Cartoon animals, cribs, toys. It was a bunker and a nursery. What kind of place was this? At the end of the hall, a door stood ajar. I pushed it open slowly and found a room full of monitor security footage. But they weren't live. They were archive files. Some looked years old. Each screen showed small children in sterile rooms being watched by caretakers in medical gear. Some were playing. Some were crying. One was screaming for his mother. Then I saw a file name. Liam OM 42023/10. MOV. I clicked. It was him, my son, alive. He was sitting on a cot, hugging the same stuffed fox Chloe mentioned, the one where she hid the USB. He looked okay, frightened, but unhurt. Then a woman entered the room. Her face was covered by a surgical mask and visor, but her voice was audible. Does your mommy talk about the man in the photo? She asked sweetly. Liam nodded. Does she say he's dangerous? He shook his head. That's strange. Because he's looking for her. And if he finds her, they'll both go away forever. I nearly broke the monitor. These people were brainwashing my child, preparing him. But for what? I rifled through the cabinets, searching for anything. Inside a drawer, I found a white envelope. No markings except a number. 0047. Inside another photo. This time of a man I didn't recognize. Until I looked closer. It was me, but younger, with different hair, holding a baby that wasn't Liam. Scrawled in red ink at the bottom. The cycle continues. You were never supposed to remember. I stared at the photo in silence, my mind refusing to accept what I was seeing. It was me, not someone who looked like me. Maybe 10 years younger. Same jawline, same scar on my wrist from a childhood bike crash. But I had no memory of that baby. Or the woman standing beside me, smiling at the camera like we were the perfect family. And in the photo, I was smiling too. My head throbbed. Nausea twisted in my gut. The bunker suddenly felt smaller, darker. What did that message mean? The cycle continues. You were never supposed to remember. I stuffed the photo into my jacket and kept searching the room, digging through drawers, cabinets, even inside the vents. I found a thick manila file labeled subject number 47 reset log. It had my name on the cover. Inside were pages of medical reports, brain scans, timestamps, dates I didn't recognize. One stood out August 29, 2017. That date appeared again and again. Next to it, a status update. Memory reset. Complete. I flipped faster. One line jumped out. Subject's prior parental attachment redirected. Emotional tether reassigned. Implanted identity successful. I dropped the file. My hands were shaking too violently to keep reading. Had I been part of this? A subject? A pawn? Was Liam even my first child? I suddenly realized something far more disturbing. Maybe I had been part of this program for years. Maybe I'd worked for them. Maybe Rachel wasn't running from strangers. She was running from me. And what if she had every reason to? I had to get out. I grabbed the USB Chloe gave me, the reset file, the strange photo, and bolted back up the ladder. It was late afternoon now. The forest had gone quiet to quiet. I kept low, moved fast, and didn't stop until I reached a gas station of the interstate. I used cash to buy a prepaid phone. I couldn't trust mine, maybe never again. I called the only person I thought might still help me. An old co-worker from my cybersecurity firm, Nolan. We used to joke about deep state conspiracies over beers. I hope now he'd believe one. He answered on the second ring. Mark, Jesus, where have you been? People are saying you're dead. I need your help, I said. But I can't tell you over the phone. Are you still in Detroit? Yeah. What's going on? I'm being hunted. Rachel is alive. Liam too. And I think I was part of something before all this. Something dark. Something I forgot. There was a long pause. Then Nolan said something I will never forget. Mark, You called me about this 5 years ago. You said if you ever disappeared and showed up again without your memory, I had to do one thing. What? Get you to look at the video file labeled Garden Seed. My blood went cold. He continued. You sent it to me. Encrypted. I've never opened it. But I still have it. I gripped the phone, voice hoarse. Then open it. Right now. There was silence, some clicking, a muttered curse, then a gasp. Oh my God, he whispered. Mark, you were never supposed to survive this. Mark, are you sitting down? Nolan's voice trembled. I could hear the fear traveling through the line. No, just tell me. I am watching it now. It's a security feed. You're in it. So is Rachel. But not how you'd think. My chest tightened. What do you mean? You're not rescuing her, Mark. You're interrogating her. I nearly dropped the phone. What? You're in a suit. Cold. Professional. There's a metal table, and Rachel's strapped to a chair. You're asking her about the USB, about the client list, and you say something. Wait, I'm rewinding. The line went quiet for a moment. Then he read aloud. We gave you a perfect life, Rachel. A son. A clean past. You threw it away for a file that no one will believe. I felt like I was suffocating. Nolan kept reading. You're not a victim. You're an asset gone rogue. You were supposed to raise the boy, integrate into the suburban cluster. But instead, you triggered a burn protocol. I stumbled back against the gas station wall, dizzy. I was one of them. Or, I used to be. A man walked by, giving me a weird look. I realized I was shaking and covered in sweat, whispering into a burner phone like a lunatic. Nolan, I gasped. How long is the video? 6 minutes. Can you send it? I already did. Encrypted zip. Same key phrase you used 5 years ago. Garden doesn't grow flowers. I remembered it instantly. That phrase had haunted me in dreams I couldn't explain. I ducked into a nearby library, borrowed a public terminal, and downloaded the file. My hands moved like they had done this 1,000 times before. The video opened, and there I was. Suit, gloves, flat expression, eyes dead. Rachel was bruised, silent, but defiant. Then came the line that broke me. If you wipe me again, I'll find him. I'll find the real Mark. The man before you built this lie. And when I do, he'll destroy everything you've made. Suddenly, in the video, I leaned closer and said, he's already gone. You don't love him. You love the version we made for you. Controlled, obedient, harmless. I felt bile rise in my throat. That version of me wasn't me. It was a tool, a mask. The video ended with Rachel being dragged away, screaming Liam's name. My past self stood still, straightened his tie, and looked directly into the security camera. Then he smiled. I shut the terminal off. I didn't know who I was anymore, a father, a weapon, a ghost. But one thing was now certain. The garden hadn't just built my life. It had built me, and somewhere deep inside me, the real Mark, the original me, was buried under layers of programming, memories, implants. Rachel had tried to wake me up once before, and failed. This time, she was counting on me to finish the job, and for that, I'd have to burn the garden to the ground. I stepped out of the library feeling like my skin didn't fit anymore. Everything was a lie. My job, my family, my identity. I had interrogated Rachel. I was part of the very system she was running from. And now, I was finally awake. For the first time, I wasn't just scared. I was angry. I checked the USB Chloe gave me. My laptop battery was nearly dead, but there was still enough juice to pull up the last hidden folder Nolan hadn't seen. Burn protocol. Inside were blueprints, server farms, emergency evacuation routes, biometric access, codes. One location kept popping up. Burlington Subgrid Station Number 7, hidden under an abandoned water treatment plant in northern Illinois. I cross-referenced it with maps. It lined up too perfectly. According to Rachel's journal, the garden wasn't just a network. It was a seed farm for manufacturing false identities, memory overlays, and child placement operations, the next generation of loyalty conditioning. People weren't just erased. They were reprogrammed and redistributed. Just like me. The plan was clear now. Infiltrate the garden's core, find Rachel and Liam, and destroy whatever was left of the system that created me. It was suicide, but I didn't care. My old life was already dead. 2 days later, outside the garden, I'd stolen a security badge from a dead-drop location listed in Rachel's journal. The man it belonged to was already marked decommissioned. That meant no one would notice. Getting in was easier than I expected. A freight elevator in the old water plant took me 5 levels underground. The walls burst with fluorescent lights and a sterile hum. Cameras tracked my every step, but no one stopped me just as I suspected. The badge worked. The face matched. They still thought I was asleep. At the end of a long hall, I found a server room labeled G-Core. Inside were rows of drives, each one humming with lives' identities stored, falsified, deleted. I began placing small charges I'd fashioned from scrap electronics, black powder, and thermite stolen from a welding supply store on my way here. Crude, but effective. But before I finished, a voice echoed behind me. You really couldn't leave it alone, could you? I turned slowly. It was me, or rather, the version I used to be. The one in the video, wearing the same suit. The same cold stare. Somehow, still alive. You were never meant to wake up, he said. But then again, we always knew the original Mark was too unstable to kill. So we buried you. You turned me into a puppet, I growled. No, we freed you. From pain, from memory, from choice. I stepped forward. Then why am I standing here? Ruining your empire, he smiled. Because you're still predictable. You think love is enough to destroy this machine. Suddenly, alarms blared, red lights. Security overrides. You led us right to her, he said calmly. My heart dropped. Rachel, we knew she was alive, but we couldn't locate her. Until now. She'll be dead within the hour. I raised the detonator in my hand. He didn't flinch. Blow it up. We'll rebuild. We always do. Not this time. I pressed the button. The explosion rocked the entire sublevel. Servers sparked. Flames erupted. Backup power died instantly. Darkness swallowed the hallway as I bolted through emergency corridors. I had just one goal now. Find Rachel and Liam before they erased for good. Smoke poured from the burning core behind me. Sirens howled in every hallway. The garden was falling, collapsing under the weight of its own secrets. I sprinted through the lower levels, past armed guards too stunned to react, past faces that might have known me once, might have even trained me all. Of it a blur. The only thing I saw clearly in my mind was Liam's face and Rachel's eyes. I passed a checkpoint marked Custodial Sector Code Red. On the wall was a glass case labeled Integration Termination Phase Room. I stopped. That's where they ended subjects to fuck on, or those who knew too much. I slammed through the door. The room was white, so white it hurt, like a hospital dreamed up by a computer. And there they were. Rachel was strapped to a gurney, IVs in her arm, her head locked in a scanning ring. Liam was in the corner of the room, asleep in a small crib. His face was pale, but peaceful. His Fox, the one with the USB, still clutched in his arms. A technician was at the console, fingers mid-command. He turned, stunned. I shot him in the leg before he could scream. He hit the floor, groaning. I ripped the cables from Rachel's head and gently shook her. She opened her eyes. Mark, it wasn't a question. It was recognition. The real me. Her voice cracked. You're awake, I nodded. Fully. Tears streamed down her face. I thought they got to you again. I thought I'd lost you. You didn't, I said. And I won't lose you either. Behind us, the entire compound trembled. Another explosion, secondary blast. The thermite was working faster than expected. Rachel tried to stand, weak but determined. I grabbed Liam and wrapped him in a towel, holding him close to my chest. He stirred, looked up at me and smiled. He knew me. Even if they tried to change everything else, they couldn't erase that. 10 hours later, safe house in Canada. The safe house was deep in the woods. Nolan had arranged it through someone he trusted. I didn't ask who. All that mattered was that it was of grade, quiet, and stocked with food and medical supplies. Rachel was resting now, finally. Liam slept curled up beside her, and I sat by the window, watching the moon through the trees, holding the last thing that tied me to what we escaped from, the reset file with my name on it. I almost burned it, but I didn't. I needed the reminder that I had been erased once, and that I chose to come back. There's still more out there, other gardens, other families caught in the web. Rachel and I talked about it. About going public. About releasing the files. But first, we heal. First, we breathe. Tomorrow, I'll bury the man they turned me into. And then we start hunting them. Because the garden doesn't grow flowers. It grows ghosts. And I'm done being dead.